So the first thing that caught my attention, I couldn't help but notice the various genres of the arts that were used as symbolic imagery in the film. So there's music, there's dance, there's storytelling, there's art. So why do you think this is a captivating way of engaging the audience? And what do you want the audience to take away from the use of these genres?
Well, I really welcome filmmakers who try to redefine filmmaking, right? Redefine the form. And we have this Caribbean Conch Productions Artist Collective, and we often have conversations of how do Caribbean people tell story, right? And so we are great novelists, we're great poets, we're great songwriters and singers and instrumentalists and dancers. But when it comes to telling the film story, the world doesn't truly like have this label for us, right? And so what we do have is the ability to bring all these forms together. And I'm fascinated by artists that just don't think that film has to have a straight line narrative. I'm fascinated by artists who understand that dance, music, poetry is integral to their storytelling. So why do I think that the audience is ready for it? I think the audience need to discover it, right? Because a lot of people are like, what do you mean Caribbean filmmaking, right? And so allowing for a space where people of Caribbean heritage can bring all these different ways of telling story into the film format, or even into the theater format, is what I hope Conch Productions can do, right? Where we can come together as a community and allow ourselves to redefine and to challenge and to create the new definition for self. I don't think I have the answer. I just know I can create the space for those who are coming up with answers.
I'm going to ask one more question, and then I'm going to open the floor to the audience so that you all will have time to ask questions before I ask any more questions. So several of the scenes were about the COVID pandemic. So that's like the most recent thing that happened, and I figured that was still on everybody's minds. So in what ways did the COVID-19 pandemic expose or deepen existing political and emotional divides within Black families?
A number of the pieces in Aftershocks were exploring that. That was a project that I executive produced, and for the pieces I wrote, because there was a discovery of like fissures that occurred during the pandemic, right? It's like you were in a bubble, and all of a sudden you realize your bubble is separate from your brother's bubble, your cousin's bubble. And all of a sudden, I think to this very day, I don't know if anybody out here can agree, but those fissures that were created by stay in your bubble, stay separate, I think has impacted not just Black families, but a lot of families. But my perspective is a Caribbean perspective, right? And so if you just look at Juan Ramirez Jr.'s piece, Sheep, two friends who find themselves on opposite sides about the vaccine itself, right? And have to struggle to rediscover the connection in their friendship that is beyond this political thing. So a lot of people were fighting about political affiliations. Are you Republican? Are you Democrat? You're bad. And that separation, the bubbles, the little, what do they call them? Bubbles? Did they call them bubbles? The bubbles that we created to protect ourselves just made us even more separate. Even the vaccine created fissures. I mean, people were not allowed to go visit relatives because how dare you not be vaccinated? I don't know if that impacted African descent people, but I do know a lot of Caribbean families that were like separated for long periods of time because if you don't get the vaccine, you can't walk in my house. And so I do think politics and a lot of separatism was created by that period of forced separation. And I hope that we're healing. But in the stories, the pieces that I wrote, A Cloud Watching, and I Married a Black Republican, and even the opening piece, it's this question of who are we now? that we are fearful for our life, right? The fear, fight or flight. How is it making us reassess our identity in our relationships? That was what made me curious, and that was the ongoing theme that connected the 5 pieces and aftershocks for me.
The audience, questions.
My question is, I've studied Caribbean theater, and there is a wide range of perspective. So in regards to filmmaking, is there a big degree as far as quality of presentation?
The filmmakers now in the Caribbean diaspora and the Caribbean as well, they're venturing into exploring horror because there's an embracing of the fact that a lot of the stories that we have are like folklore or pure horror. So there are a number of filmmakers that I've met along the way that are saying, we want to do horror because it's part of our folklore, right? I don't feel like I'm an authority to say that there's a particular culture that focuses on slapstick versus a culture that focuses on horror. I think overall, everybody is embracing the importance of art for social change. Conch Productions, our focus is art for social change, not just, I guess you could say art for art's sake. I would say that a car chase movie is art for art's sake. I don't know how it changes the world, but maybe someone can teach me here. But I do find that the filmmakers that are attracted to Conch Productions share a passion for art, for social change. And I've attended a bunch of different film festivals, and that seems to be the underlying theme for the film festivals I've attended. But also another important thing is you can go to a Tribeca Film Festival and see a Caribbean film. Right, I've seen 2 Caribbean films at Tribeca Film Festival, and the 2 films that I've seen were art for social change. And so it's a question of the film festivals and their appetite. But in terms of what's in the movie theater, can anybody tell me any Caribbean films that are in the movie theater right now or have been in the movie theater lately other than One Love? I hope that answers your question. But I don't really feel that we stick to a particular genre. It depends on the artist's training. If you speak to someone from Great Britain versus someone from Canada versus someone from New York versus someone from Guyana or from Trinidad, the answer will be different based on their training and what the interest is based on their cultural proclivity to storytelling.
Since you're here, can you talk about your own film? It was beautiful.
Thank you. During the pandemic, I was doing a lot of writing because, we were home. And I was also doing a lot of online producing. And I got a grant close to the end of the pandemic from QCA. And another grant was specifically during the pandemic. I can't remember the name of the grant, but it was specifically oriented to bring us back into space. Right? It was supposed to be a theater production. And there was a deadline for using the funds. And I had written it as a collection of 1X. And then they shut everything down. And we had to hit the deadline. And for me, I said I wanted to make sure that we gave a voice to women. And as you noticed, there were 2 writers. My view, I'm always writing female stories, because I really feel our voice is not heard enough. And I wanted to make sure it was hopeful. Because there was a lot of sorrow going on at the time, a lot of hopelessness. And I didn't want to give in to that. I wanted to find the joy. And what I was finding as individuals, when I was talking to friends, everybody was trying to find a way to be happy. When you look at the news, it was like, oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. But when you talk to individuals on the phone, it's like, yeah, but I had ice cream. Yeah, but, so it's horrible, but. And I was like, I needed to see this because there were films coming out, shot on cell phones and iPads that were showing up on Netflix and everything. And they're really depressing, like hardcore, like you're getting me sad. But we were doing that as humans. And in Queens, they were saying a bunch of Caribbean people were dying left and right. All the hospitals were full of Caribbean people, and our community was being decimated, but no one was telling a story about their experiences of resilience. And I said, I've never seen a film about the pandemic in 1920 from a person of color's viewpoint or anybody's viewpoint. So let's go ahead and shoot this. And this will live. This will live so that people can know we were more than just people online. We were people who are at home, living our lives, telling our stories, trying to find a way to find joy. And that was my path to Aftershocks. And I was really happy to have Juan Ramirez Jr. on board to bring a male viewpoint, because I didn't want to alienate, the male perspective. But yeah, that was the inspiration.
So I thought it was really interesting when you asked the audience what are Caribbean films we've seen in the theater. And it led me to the question to ask you, is it important for Caribbean artists and actors and filmmakers to make it very abundantly obvious that there's a Caribbean influence? And the reason I ask that is because last year the Twisters film was released in theaters, and I dug deeper into the film, and it's actually produced by Lee Isaac Chung. So you would think like a person of color did this. And what was so startling to me was that although he is of East Asian descent and he's the director of this film, he did not put a single East Asian representation, but he's the director. So therefore, every time we produce art, our personal elements supposed to be in it. Do you think so?
I do. The reason why I founded Conch Productions is because I felt that the unique identity of Caribbean heritage artists were not being honored, right? And it wasn't, what I mean by unique is like Haitian, Trinidadian, Guyanese, Cuban, unique, right? They just put us in this pool, right? Or it's a pool of like racial identity. But each of us has a story that goes back into our DNA. And I feel that celebrating your story, including people that tell a story from your perspective, is precious for the audience, right? And I care about the audience. For me as an artist, yes, that's important. Do I feel all artists should do it? No. Quite frankly, a lot of times the budget requires that you fit a certain parameter in order to continue working in the industry, right? So you make sure that you hire people that they feel are sellable, whatever that means. And if that is your choice, that is your choice. But if you want to awaken people to what is unique and special about a group of people that most people ignore, then I applaud you. And if you feel story is story and it doesn't matter who the person is, that is your choice. And I don't judge people who don't care for that. It's not relevant to them. But when it comes to the audience feeling seen, that is what really warms my heart, right? That makes me feel that this art form means something. It's not for me, it's for them, right? And so the question is, are you creating art for people who need it, or are you just creating it for to meet some other goal? And whatever it is, it's up to you.
All right, so the first one is about Rise Up. I was curious about the ending of the film because the bird flew into the window. So I wasn't sure if that was a message about the need to continue to struggle, or if that was about the illusion of freedom. So the first question. Then the second question about women in resistance. The dancings were amazing, but it struck me that the light-skinned woman who was dancing, when she was dancing, there was no drumming. And I was wondering what was the significance of that. So those are my two questions.
Rise Up. Grace Delk is based in Amsterdam. And I actually interviewed her on Monday, and you can see the interview on Conch Productions' YouTube channel. She was sharing that in 2020, when George Floyd was murdered in America, there were conversations happening in Amsterdam where people were like, is there racism here? or is it only in America? Would that ever happen here? As a person of Surinamese descent, she felt responsible for saying, you need to open your books, right? And so she used the bird simply because she felt it would open people up to hearing her messaging. And I found it really poignant how in 2020, a person of color was murdered in Amsterdam in the same way as in the United States. But people still felt comfortable asking, is there such a thing as racism in our country, right? And so I've heard she's really passionate about art for social change. She's currently producing her next film. She got funding from the government to do this film about women of color in Amsterdam who have fought for rights that have not been talked about, right? They have protested and, to get better opportunities for the needs of people. Because, think about Amsterdam. I mean, seriously, what have the Dutch done around the planet? I mean, seriously, how could you not know your history? And she's saying people don't know history. The history books don't have the information. So we as filmmakers have to wake up the world. As far as Entre Puerto Rico y Richmond, the story of these two women, they're in two separate times of history. And they were brought together by their relationship with the tobacco industry. They were not alive at the same time. And so by the end, they were brought together by Bomba, because Bomba is deep heritage music, healing music with African roots. And what differentiated these important women in Puerto Rican history is one was clearly of African descent and the other was of European descent, but they were both fighting for Puerto Rican rights. And so and as far as why there was no music for her, I cannot answer that question with specificity. But based on my interview with her, I would think that the journey of the piece was saying that she was fighting for rights, but together these women have left this heritage of women fighting for the rights of Puerto Rican people in the DNA of the people. But that's me as audience, not as artists. And so I will give me your email address and I'll have Alicia contact you. She's a professor in Richmond. So two professors can go at it. Because she's working on her next project and it's examining the impact of the sugar industry on Puerto Rico. Alicia is the only person I've ever had contact with, but there was an amazing collective of women that developed this piece, as you can see when you're seeing the credits. And I keep on just saying Alicia Diaz, because she's been my key contact ever since we first met. But the credits tell the truth of the magnificent collective of women who are coming together to tell stories to impact change, which is what we're passionate about at Conch Productions.
You and my classmate brought up a good point. I didn't even think about, I'm Haitian by the way, I didn't even think about a Netflix show, Grand Army. And I know my fellow Haitians got really, really excited when it came out because there was an actual Haitian actor playing a Haitian who was speaking Creole good, not a fake actor they put in there who sounded African instead of Haitian. It just happens a lot of the time. Do you think it is laziness or a little value placed on like accurate representation of Caribbean actors or the people that are being played in movies, films, shows? Or do you think it's just that hard to find true representation? Because the same things happen like Jamaican actors sometimes, and they throw terrible accents in there, people who are not from the culture, or just the culture is misrepresented and just what they're talking about doesn't make sense. It doesn't really align with what we know is to be true. What do you feel is the true result of that? What's at the core of that? Just laziness, or is it just that hard to find people to represent our cultures?
I played the mother in Grand Army, and I have to say that we all celebrated that we were in the cast because the family was all actually of Haitian heritage. We actually spoke the language. And I have so many opinions about that question that you have, but I think it's the lack of exposure to the value of actually casting people who are culturally appropriate, right? And so shows like Grand Army, everybody in the Haitian community is like, oh my God, actual Haitians playing Haitians. But the thing is, they need to stand up and attend Haitian events, right? And go to the Haitian movies. Like Mountains was at Tribeca and won a bunch of Tribeca awards. They need to be in the audience proving to the producers that we want this. So we can't blame the casting directors. We can't blame the producers. We have to take responsibility for saying, we support our artists, right? Because they spend a lot of time looking for me. Actually, no, seriously. I was told that the casting director was at a party and they were talking to another actor and they were saying, we're having so much trouble finding an actual Haitian person to play the mother. And she said, what about Magaly? And she's like, oh, I didn't know she was Haitian, right? So then the onus is on us to go around and say, I'm Haitian, right? So if you look at IMDb, and you're looking at my page, it doesn't say I'm Haitian, and no matter how many times I try to put it in there, it won't accept that when I type in Haitian American actress, it never accepts it. I don't know why. I'm like, why is IMDb doing that? Right? I'm like, why are you doing that? And so by having film festivals like Conch International Film Festival, like the Haiti International Film Festival, like Third Horizon Film Festival, all these film festivals with films directed and written by people with Caribbean heritage, actually casting Caribbean people, we're awakening the audience and the industry to the fact that, hold up, there are actually people from Trinidad who are actors? Yeah, there are. Right? That actually people from Cuba versus Dominican Republic versus Puerto Rico in the industry. We have to take responsibility. You can't point the finger, say, oh, it's your fault. If we take the responsibility, because now people contact me to find out if I know a Trinidadian actor or if I know a Jamaican, because they want that specificity, because we've established specificity is key, right? So the blaming goes nowhere because they'll think, I can't find them. And we're creating space to say, they're right here. So you take the onus and create the space to say, there they go. I do a Caribbean artist spotlight. I'm like, that's a Caribbean artist. That's a Caribbean artist. Did you not know? If we all do it, then the mystery of where the Caribbean artists will end. We spend too much time blaming other people. We just need to take the baton and charge with it. I do go to projects and go like, holy cow, why couldn't you get a so-and-so? Right? But go on your Instagram and say, this was a great, and so hashtag it, creating this, because that's what the industry is doing. They're going to social media to see where the hashtags are. Hashtag Dominican artists. Oh, let me look for hashtag Dominican artists. They literally are doing their best, but if they don't know and they can't find that information in places where they need it, it's challenging. And an actor is going to take the job that they get. And there's training to do accents. Yeah. But you're going to take the job that you get. And it's your job as the actor, the director, to say, I am a blah, blah, blah. And leave it at that. So go around to your peeps and say, hashtag blah, 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 and don't make it enough. You don't have to be Haitian enough to be qualified, right? Or Dominican enough to be qualified, Jamaican enough to be, there's all this negativity. Let's just say, celebrate. Celebrate. Because that separation in the diaspora of saying, oh, you weren't born here, so you don't qualify, that's negative energy. We can't do that. You can't get love if you don't give love. I'm a little passionate. A little passionate.
So I was going to ask about Conch Productions and Conch International Film Festival. Given the festival's ongoing mission to empower underrepresented voices, what are some additional steps you foresee for Conch International Film Festivals in amplifying narratives about breaking traditional barriers and facing current societal challenges in the African diaspora?
I don't really think about challenges. I think about endless possibilities, right? Because challenges is just like, it's like a rock on your shoulder. But if you're thinking endless possibilities, that really gets me excited. So Conch Productions is a nonprofit organization. And one of the events that we present is the film festival, because film lives, right? This was shot in 2021, and we're screening it in 2025 with the director's vision intact, right? And I feel that as a community, if we continue taking our story, by coincidence, we were able to make this into a film. I've shot different films along the way, but film allows you to tell this story no matter where you are, right? I mean, it's screened in a festival in Japan, right? It's like, no matter where you are, you can touch lives. And so we also focus on the voices of theater makers, because theater is in space, feeling the truth from a being on stage, and it's really essential. How I envision the future for Conch Productions, I mean, we became a nonprofit last year. We've been around since 2018, but to continue making space for more and more and more and more voices. And we just need money. So donate, don't be shy, donate. But the thing is, as we negotiate around money, it's about reminding the community that if you come together, you can thrive, right? Don't let language divide you. Oh, there's so many languages in the Caribbean. One of the reasons why I had this with Spanish subtitles, Aftershocks, is because, you know, I don't speak Spanish, but there's so many people who speak Spanish in the Caribbean and South America and throughout the Americas and the planet. I need to be able to reach more people. So if we can, the more people we can reach, the more people we can empower to believe, yes, I can. And no matter how you want to tell your story, if you're not interested in art for social change, please just tell your story and share it with another festival or another theater, but don't stop telling your story. I just want us, Conch Productions is not the only organization doing this work. We're one of many. It's just that I am focused on the diaspora as well, you know, because I am a diaspora baby. And I'm part of that community that's often told, you're not American enough, you're not Haitian enough, you're not this enough, but you are enough if you have a story to tell. So I just want Conch Productions to continue creating. We have a publication called We're Not Neutral that we came out with in 2021 based on this amazing work we did in collaboration with Brata Production and Kumukua Theater, and look forward to publishing another collection. And we try and get the collection in colleges because it's teaching students the impact of systemic oppression on all people. So the writers were from Latin America, Hawaii, there was a Chinese writer, Nigeria, there are a bunch of different writers who were part of this event that we did, and we had to publish it, right? So all we can do is take charge of making sure our message is out there. So if we can inspire other people to feel the same way, then Conch Productions has done its job.
We thank you so much for being here at York College. Thank Professor Penn for inviting you. Let's give Magaly Colimon-Christopher another round of applause. Thank you. Thank you.